running up the score.
Jerry Napoleonello.
The Cowboys made two mistakes in the last 3 years. One was letting Dak take over for Romo and not having Romo come back in. And two was releasing Dez Bryant.
Superstition, screw that. Let's pick this bad boy up and walk it around the ice.
Kevin Donlin.
The NFL, like every league, is a business. And in a business, you have a job. And let me tell you something. You always have a boss. No matter who you are, you have a boss when you're in the organization.
The New York Jets, you know what they need to do with their second round pick? They need to just start taking it and lighting it up on fire.
This is Running Up the Score, your one-stop spot for all things sports. Join in on the conversation by calling in at 605-562-7085. Now here's your hosts, Jerry Napoleonello and Kevin Donlin.
All right, it's time to run up the score. Running up the score with Jerry Napoleonello and Kevin Donlin. 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. First, go to SeatGiant.com and type in RUTS Sports as a promo code to save on tickets. So last week, we were talking about Manny Machado being a very, very rich man. This week, we're talking about Bryce Harper being an even richer man as he signs with the Phillies. But there's so much more we'll get into. How Tavares making his, much-awaited Long Island return. And the Islanders did not disappoint the fans. I can't wait to get this one started. We got a great show ahead of us. Thank you for joining us on this March 2nd. We'll start off today. I think we got to start off today with the New York Islanders.
No, absolutely. I was at that game, and I've gone around telling people over and over, it was a great game. Obviously, the entire Twitter world and fans from all around had different things to say about the idea of New York Islander fans booing John Tavares, and there wasn't, they make it a big thing that people were throwing things at him. I was there. I think a jersey was thrown at him before I even walked in the building, and then, a snake or two. There wasn't much. A majority of it was just booing and heckling. And for me as a fan of the New York Islanders, this was well-deserved. I tried to explain this to people, and I think unless you're an Islander fan, you can't fully understand what we went through in that entire process. I see the way guys like Artemi Panarin and the way they are acting when they know what they're looking for. They want to test free agency. John Tavares wanted to test free agency. I understand that. You wanted to go home. You wanted to go to Toronto. I understand that. If I put myself in your shoes, and I grew up a New York Islander fan, and I got drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it was my chance to go back home, I'd certainly almost want to do something very similar. But there's a way to go about it. And there's no way. Say what you want, John. Say whatever you want to the media, because it doesn't matter to me anymore. I already know you're a liar. But there's no way you had no idea that this was something that you wanted to do. And in that situation, you need to voice your opinion to the organization. That doesn't mean it's going to go all the way out into the media. The whole world's going to find out about it. But you got to let the organization know what your intentions are. And according to the New York Islanders and their media outlets, he loved it in Long Island. He said he couldn't picture playing anywhere else.
Said it multiple times.
And, that's what makes this hurt. You're the face of our franchise, and you decided to leave. And it wasn't just more along the lines of you leaving. We know how the rest of the NHL views the New York Islanders after the past 30 years. We all know about the 4 cups in a row. We all know about the great players from the 80s. But then we went about 30 years of being irrelevant. And fans have had plenty to say from around the country and up north about their view of the New York Islanders and the kind of teams they put together, including the teams that apparently were put together around John Tavares.
Yeah.
But from what I'm seeing, that team that the New York Islanders had around John Tavares is playing again this year without their captain, quote unquote. And to be able to watch my team the other night go out and put up 6 goals on a team that cannot play defense. The Toronto Maple Leafs play awful defense. And I'm not bad-mouthing them. I'm just telling you as I saw it. I'm watching defensemen on the Toronto Maple Leafs being unaware of where the puck even is. All right, there was a Valerie Filppula goal where the puck was right in front of the net.
Yeah.
It popped right onto Filppula's stick, and he had the easiest shot from the slot. And if you look back at that video, and this is not just Islander fans to look at this. As an NHL fan and a hockey fan, you got to go watch this. No awareness of where the puck was at all on the defensive side of the puck. 0. And, I'm all for John going home again. And, you made your decision. I respect it. I understand. There was a way to go about it. You're too valuable.
That's the problem.
You're
it wasn't
entirely too valuable to just walk. If you want to go to Toronto, we could easily traded you to Toronto. Everybody wins. You get an extra year in your contract. You make an extra $11 million. We get the assets that we need in return in a trade from you. It made no sense as to why this was the approach you decided to go about it.
That was the problem. It wasn't that he left. Like this whole thing that happened at the Coliseum 2 nights ago, like, it's not because he left the Islanders. It was the way he left the Islanders. That is the whole. That's the purpose of why there's jerseys getting run over in the parking lot. There's jerseys getting burned in the parking lot. There's jerseys thrown at him. I'm not saying that every fan should throw a jersey at him. I didn't think that was right. But you know what? You can't say that. One guy throwing a jersey at John Tavares is the whole fan base of the Islanders. I thought the Islanders, I thought the fans, I wasn't able to go, obviously, but you could hear every chant on TV. Like, that's how loud it was. It really felt like, and I was there a couple of years ago when they made it back to the playoffs, and they were in the Coliseum, and just the way that arena just,
it shakes.
It doesn't.
It's like nothing
there's
else.
nothing like it. There is nothing like it. It is so loud. It is ridiculous. That, like, we said it a couple weeks ago, when we were talking about the Islanders being able to play the first round of the playoffs in the Coliseum and how big of a thing that is. People that haven't been to the Coliseum, you don't realize it. You don't understand it. That place gets so loud, and it's such a compact arena that the fans are basically on the ice. Like, that's how close you are. You can have an upper deck seat and still feel like you're in the 100 section. And in the Coliseum it doesn't go by that, but whatever. Just overall, that arena is basically, you want to say, a seventh man on the ice. You could say that.
There was no secret that it was giving the Islanders fuel.
Oh,
and
100%.
Giving them just that spark that they needed to put up 6 goals, especially after giving up the first goal in the game and it being 1-0. And between you and me, folks, I had a great view of John Tavares. After that first goal, he was thrilled, and he really wanted to win that one. And so did his teammates.
And you could
tell. And that's what made this really, really sweet, because he wanted this one, and it's understandable. It's absolutely understandable. It's, you're playing your former team. You want to be able to beat them. The guys you used to be teammates with, you want to beat these guys.
Absolutely.
Just the overall perspective of this wasn't like a simple, player leaving and let's just hate on the guy. This has been an ongoing thing for Islander fans, and I think they can understand this more than anyone. There's been a whole idea that people don't want to play here in New York, in Long Island. It's been an ongoing trend. Any Islander fan can admit it. Over the past 15 to 20 years, I've seen guys left and right that had no intention on wanting to come to New York to play in Long Island, but they wanted to come play for the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
So it's always been a little trend that us Islander fans see. So when we see the face of our franchise decide he doesn't want to play here either, it's a big hit.
Not to mention,
it continues the ongoing trend of what we've seen here in New York, in Long Island, where players have no intention of wanting to play for the New York Islanders because of talking about how they've been irrelevant for a long time and how management's been a question mark. But this whole season has been completely different. Just a feel between Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello. You just see a whole different just feel for this team. And the way they're going to play the game, they're going to play Islanders hockey, which is basically meaning you're just going to give it 110 on every shift. I mean, it comes down to that very simply. You can tell my voice is just completely cracking. This was 2 days later, and I'm still losing my voice. I mean, I can guarantee you I was one of the many screaming at John Tavares and booing him. By the third period, my boos were pathetic. I'll be honest.
I got tickets for the next time.
I'll be there as well.
April 1st.
The feel was just unbelievable. It felt like a playoff game. We really wanted this win, and that's what makes it feel like a playoff. Because every playoff game, the fans want.
Since July 1st, this is the day. Well, that day was the day that every single Islander fan was waiting for.
Well, I can remember where I was when this happened. I mean, that's how detrimental it was as a really big Islander fan. I am a big Islander fan. I love the New York Islanders. I've loved them since I was 5 years old. I can remember the first game I ever went to. I can remember the first game I ever watched with my father, who was a big Islander fan as well.
Ziggy Palffy was my guy.
Of course, yeah. I watched him get a hat trick live. I was at the game when he scored a hat trick the day his kid was born. I absolutely, I can go back years and years among players that we've had, and I'm a huge fan. So when I watch someone that was almost basically the face of my franchise tell me that he doesn't want to play here basically anymore, then you need to let my organization know so that we can get the assets in return. I mean, essentially, I felt like it was just an absolute, just
selfish move
on the path that nobody won out of this. You didn't win out of this, clearly. I mean, you'd rather not have something like this happen to you, John. You wouldn't. You don't want to see the team that you gave 10 years of your life to booing you beyond belief. In the tribute video, I can't tell you a single word that was said in that video. The boos were deafening. There was other chants, too, that I can't even talk about right now on the radio. But
I like the past your bedtime one. Was that?
There was, I mean, it was just, people, and honestly, fans throughout the, Twitter and everything have talked about whether or not what the Islander fans did was right. You don't know how this felt. You don't know what it felt like to watch that happen.
Listen,
nobody won here. Again, I just want to get this point across, is that nobody won here. The organization did not win here. John Tavares did not win here. John, you literally cost yourself $11 million because you can't tell us that you needed a trade to the Toronto Maple Leafs because you wanted to go home or get traded somewhere else for half a season. Last year, the New York Islanders were not relevant. They were not going to make the playoffs. So for you to tell us, don't trade me, please don't trade me, and then you leave for nothing, it hits the heart. And I don't know how else to, I don't know how you can't understand that. But I saw at least 15,000 people at the Nassau Coliseum the other night that understood that. And how you're unaware of that is mind-boggling. And when you talk to the media, you sound like a robot.
When it comes down to Islander fans, all right, if you're not an Islander fan, you don't understand the stuff that Islander fans have dealt with. Okay, we as younger fans, I'm 28, he's 30. Technically we're younger fans. We didn't get to see those 4 cups, so we don't have that to fall back on. Okay, what we've dealt with is just a dumpster fire of an organization for multiple years now. I mean, we've dealt with the Spano days. We've dealt with the Milbury days. I mean, I want people, if you don't know, okay, Google it and just check how many All-Stars and Superstars that the Islanders have traded in their organization within the last, 20
And that
years?
is because those players approach the organization saying that they don't have an interest in playing here,
But
they have an interest playing elsewhere, which is the right way to go about it.
Milbury was just an idiot. And
Milbury in itself, I absolutely.
If you don't know, Zdeno Chara was an Islander.
But I'm going to stop you. I don't want to talk about that, man. I don't even.
Roberto Luongo was an Islander.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Okay, so these are names that that maybe some of these hockey fans don't know, or just fans of other sports don't know. These guys are all-stars that the Islanders just traded away for nothing. Okay. We've dealt with the Alexei Yashin days.
I don't care. At least I'm not the GM for the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah,
I'm watching that whole organization. But Ottawa, any fans from there right now that are listening?
They probably understand.
God, this voice is killing me right now.
They probably understand.
This is brutal.
But I'm just saying, you don't understand what Islander fans have gone through. And when you get a player of the stature of John Tavares, okay, when you're in his prime, he's still in his prime. I mean, he's 28. He is a top 10 player in the league. And the Islanders had him on their team. He was the face of their organization. We've dealt with seeing this guy every day and loving every moment of his career in an Islanders uniform, and sitting back and saying, you know what? We got the guy. Let's build around him. And they start to build around him. They make the playoffs 3 out of the 4 years or whatever, 2 out of the 4 years. And just when you think that your team is getting better and better, and just when you think that the Islanders are going to jump over that hump, they finally get to the second round. They lose in the second round. But we move on. Let's get to the next season. They missed the playoffs, but you know what? They get better and better, and you're like, oh, you know what? Tavares is just gonna carry us, and then he leaves. It's literally your heart getting ripped out as a fan. It's literally Tom Brady leaving the Patriots just because he just wanted to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not comparing them. I'm kind of like the best player on that team leaving that team for nothing. Okay? And I know other teams and other sports, it happens. But you know what? With the Islanders, they don't have that type of, I guess, organization to just pay anybody. It just doesn't happen like that. So losing your best player, it sucks. And you know what? You saw how much it sucked for Islander fans that night that John Tavares stepped on the ice as a Toronto Maple Leaf in the Nassau Coliseum.
Well, it's just, you're going to get people critiquing what was said and how the whole thing went about from people all throughout, Twitter and everything. But, there's no way to describe what happened to the average fan. And you can call it Islander fans being salty. And, that's a word I've heard around a lot, coming from all over. But, I booed. I went to this game. I booed. I know why I booed, and I wasn't alone. And unless you're in our shoes, there's really no way. John Tavares talks about no one's ever stepped in his shoes. Yeah, well, you haven't stepped in our shoes and what we've dealt with over the last 20 years. And like he said, I'm a younger Islander fan. I did not see, the great years and the, 4 cups in a row. I didn't get the luxury to watch those games. For me, John Tavares was a highlight of being a New York Islander fan. And I understand, again, wanting to go home. Nobody understands that more than me. I'm walking in your shoes for a second, and I see, being able to have the opportunity to go home, see friends, see family, be back home with them. I absolutely understand that. I respect that, John. I absolutely do. But the way it went about was just not the right way. He just went over a bunch of players, a bunch of all-stars that were traded by the New York Islanders, and they've all gotten warm welcomes. Because Travis Hamonic, who played, 2 nights before you came into town, and he got a standing ovation. And that's because he went right up to the organization, explained to him that he wanted to go, he needed to be home. Even if it was a part, not even just about needing to go home, but just a part of wanting to go home as well. He came up to the organization, approached it the right way, and the Islanders took care of it for him. And John, you were there the whole time. You watched that whole process occur. You needed to do something similar. Instead, you decided to continue to tell the media that you had no intention of leaving New York. And you know what? Maybe you didn't have a full, absolute 100% convinced that you were either going to stay in New York or you were going to go to Toronto. But you knew the possibility was out there. And you need to be honest with the organization. Maybe not too much the media. You got Sean Avery making videos.
I was going to bring that up.
He makes videos and he's explaining about how players don't talk to the media. Yeah, no one's talking about going to the media. And honestly, I'm never going to get a lesson on class from Sean Avery. Yes.
It's Jesus. Sean Avery, are we really putting around it, are we really sharing his video around Twitter and everywhere else? Are we really bringing up Sean Avery right now, talking about class? Sean Avery talking about class.
Us going like this and reacting like this is just exactly why.
It's why he did. I know.
So you're really just feeding into it. I'm just mentioning the fact of the basis is that, he was talking in his video about how, players don't go up to the media and tell them what they're going to do and their intentions. And no one is telling, no one is saying that
he
should.
Don't go to the media. We just had a whole show last week on how the media is so much different than it used to be in sports and how bad it is now. And all
that's
we're saying
thing.
is go to the organization and say, listen, I don't think I'm going to sign back with the Islanders. Okay. I want to try to. I'll probably end up going home.
At least just not even just that. If you're not, I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong here, I have no idea how to explain the kind of character that John Tavares has, but I'm pretty sure he truthfully did not know who he wanted to play for next year, and John Tavares, had a decision to make. And it was a tough one, and I understand. Again, wanting to go back home, I know so many things come into play with that. The wife, for one.
Absolutely.
There's a lot that came into play. So, again, I do not, fault him for going home. But if there was the possibility of that needed to be truthful with the organization. They needed to understand that we were not a winning team last year. We were going nowhere last year. Playoffs did not seem likely for the New York Islanders. What? You didn't want to go play even for the San Jose Sharks or somebody that was in playoff contention? Because you knew you weren't going to, there was a possibility you wanted to test free agency, which is what you did. And you spoke to not just Toronto, not just the New York Islanders. No. There were other teams involved as well. Yeah. So, obviously, you and your agent had the mindset that you wanted to test free agency, which, hey, you've earned that right.
Listen, the Islanders offered him more money than Toronto Maple Leafs. So it's
Yeah.
not like it has nothing to do with money.
I know it. But I'm saying it's just basically along the lines. You knew what your intentions were to go back to free agency. You got to let the organization know and give them an idea, and they have an understanding, and then they're able to make a trade if they need to. Get the assets in return, or even just a sign and trade. I mean, something, John. You literally lost out on $11 million because you couldn't get an 8th year on a contract because you decided to stay with the New York Islanders, and instead you took 7 years at 77 from the Toronto. So you literally cost yourself money. You cost us assets. So again, I don't understand the winner here. I'm still confused by this. It's a big reason why there is so much hatred for you right now, coming from Islander fans.
Listen.
And if you can't see this, then again, it just strongly describes your character. But again, I've known this man 9 years in my uniform.
Yeah.
He's worn the New York Islander uniform for a very long time. Great sport, hard worker, never got into trouble, just like Sean Avery said. This guy is a great man.
He's a role model. He's all of that, but he would have been immortalized by the Islander fan base if he went about it differently. I mean, like you were saying before, every player that's left has had a warm, applause, everything, ovation by the fans. It's just the people that are ripping Islander fans, you don't understand. It's just the way he did it. That's all. That's what we're trying to get across to you right now. It's just the way he left the Islanders. That's period. That's it. Like you said, Travis Hamonic came in 2 nights before. He had a warm ovation from the crowd. Matt Martin when he was with Toronto, Islander fans love their players. They love their players. But when you spurn them and you burn every inch of a bridge that you had,
He just did wrong by the organization. That's
it.
what we love.
That's it.
We love the organization. We love the players that play for the organization, too. We love the coaches. We love even the training staff, that has kept this team healthy all season long. So, everything about this organization we love.
You know what?
And when you sit there and you leave us and you don't get us anything in return, when you know the kind of caliber player that you are and the return you can get after watching the return I'm watching on guys like Matt Duchene, Stone, these guys, the returns that these teams got for these guys, I can only imagine the kind of return the Islanders would have got, even if the organization that they were trading with knew John Tavares wanted to leave. I mean, even John Tavares could have went out to the media and said, I want to go play for Toronto next year. I'm a rental player for anyone at the trade deadline. The Islanders still could have got an amazing haul for that because of how talented he was.
Absolutely.
The San Jose Sharks and any fan from there right now will tell you right away, last year at the trade deadline, they would have taken him in a heartbeat. And they definitely could have used him. Yep. And last season could have been a lot different for them if they would have gotten somebody like that, even if it was just a rental situation.
Yep.
Toronto, the same business. So, again, I didn't see a winner here. 2 nights ago, going to that game and watching you boo. Again, nobody won here. And if you got people out there that feel bad for John Tavares, there really is no reason for it.
There's none.
There's no reason to feel bad for this man. There's a way to go about it. I mean, you're just at a loss of words. You're just at a loss of words. I've been at a loss of words since July 1st. It made no sense. And
it's
again, we're going to go past this whole John Tavares thing. We're going to go past this whole situation with him. This bad blood isn't going to end for a long time. He should understand that. And in time, we will respect the years you played for us. Without a doubt, we will respect it. But that'll be a couple years later when we know and hope that you have never won a cup.
Yeah.
Because clearly when I see somebody do something what he did, you didn't want to get any assets traded from the Toronto Maple Leafs because you wanted them there for when you're there for a 7-year deal.
Yep.
And you're looking for a cup.
That's exactly what it is.
That's what I see. I can't
exactly
understand anything else with that whole situation and what went down with that.
That's the selfishness in this whole thing is that you knew that you were going to go to Toronto, so you didn't want the Islanders to trade you to Toronto because then they're obviously going to have to lose. One of those guys were going to have to be in that trade. It was either going to be Nylander, Marner, which I don't think they would trade Marner up, but it was going to be one of them. Austin Matthews, obviously untouchable, but one of them was going to be in that trade, and probably a first-round pick. But don't get me wrong.
Definitely a first-round pick. I mean,
it
look
was
what
Garth
these
Snow.
other guys got.
It was Garth Snow, though. So who knows what was going to get, what the return would have been. But that's not here nor there.
Before we go off on this subject, I have to explain that, to any real Islander fan that understands the situation here and what happened, I don't just blame John Tavares for the whole situation happening.
No.
The Islanders are to blame just as much. And I could see it from the interviews of other players that we have on our team this year in their interviews. And you know what they say whenever they talk about what has changed with the New York Islanders? Why are you starting to win? And why are you in first place now? You just lost your best player. I have no voice. This is so bad. I'm sorry, folks. Don't boo somebody at a game for an entire night and scream obnoxiously. That's exactly what I went through. But
2 nights before you're supposed to do a show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically. But everyone knows, and if you're a true Islander fan, you can absolutely understand this, in that it's, it wasn't just a one-sided blame here. John Tavares was a big blame as to why he wasn't straight up with the organization, but this organization was, basically just laying out the red carpet for John Tavares. And, when you look at other players' interviews that are on the Islanders this year explaining why they're so good now, they say nobody gets any special treatment. I've heard that a lot in interviews.
Yeah,
that's been an ongoing trend that I've heard.
Yeah.
Is nobody gets any kind of special treatment, on the basis that, basically implying that, I guess John Tavares was getting special treatment when he was in a New York Islander uniform. So I blame the organization at the same time for things like that occurring. And now you're talking about, your chemistry and all that kind of result. Like, basically, this guy is at one level and the rest of the team was at another level.
Yeah.
And you can't have that mindset. This is again, we talk about, this is a team sport. You're not going to win this game with one player.
There's one word, and we said it last week. There's one word when it comes to the Islanders that has changed everything, and it's structure. The Islanders have structure now, from the top down to the bottom. Okay, so it's different. Like, it's starting off now with Ledecky as the owner. I mean, just having an owner that's so into the team is huge. I mean, he's a great guy to be around too. I mean, he's hanging out at tailgate parties and stuff like that.
There's a whole change, like I just mentioned before. There's a whole change with the organization.
Lou
and it's from top to
Lamoriello,
bottom.
Barry Trotz,
It's
and then
top
to
to
the
bottom.
players. It's just,
before we get off this, I really do like all the heavy amount of Islander talk we talked about today. But
you don't get much hockey talk.
When it came to the trade deadline for the New York Islanders,
yeah, we should get it.
You had fans going nuts on the basis that there wasn't a trade made. Now, I understand the frustration. We wanted to get a player that could put this team over the top. But when you score 6 goals on the Toronto Maple Leafs and you're continuing to not give up an extensive amount of goals, and I mean, I watched the game last night against the Washington Capitals too. The first 2 periods of that game, a couple of good saves from Lehner, but right now, this Islander team is gelling, and they're playing very good defense. Obviously, the legs weren't there in the third period. Josh Bailey, it was pretty bad. No, that goal. But again, it's a big goal. But it's not a big.
I can't put it all on Bailey there.
No, I know.
Brock Nelson was a little, lackadaisical on that.
Well, again, it just shows the kind of night that it was, or the kind of period it was, because the Islanders really played a great first 2 periods. It overlooked all that. And again,
you saw that
just had
they got tired.
You just had a playoff
in
feel
the third period. It got to a point where, they put so much into that game the night before that, and even just this game just shows, the game last night against the Capitals just shows you how big of a game that game against the Toronto Maple Leafs was, because you could tell every single player on that ice put everything into that game against Toronto. I just, the game against the Capitals, like you said, the first two periods, they looked like they were, clicking all over. Third period, just something changed. And I think a lot had to do with fatigue. It was a back-to-backer. So that, it was also...
That was their first game they lost on a back-to-back. The second game.
Yeah. But, they still have a game in hand on Washington, so that's, that's something to hang your hat on. But overall, with the Islanders, we just did 30 minutes on the New York Islanders. I mean, that's about 29 more minutes than any other radio station in New York. And
I can promise you that the fans of this team deserve it. They needed a good understanding as to what happened because obviously they've seen it. They're all over Twitter. I know Islander fans all over have seen this. They see the kind of negative reflect, I guess is the best way to put it, on what they did the other night. And I shouldn't say they, I would say we, because I was part of that. So
I saw Ranger fans that actually agreed with us because they would do the same thing. Ranger fans would do the same thing.
It's just
any fan base would do the same thing.
You can't critique what somebody like what we did unless you're in our shoes and you see exactly what we went through on July 1st. I was at the beach. I remember exactly where I was the day I heard the news. So it's just, that's the kind of impact this man made. I don't think he understands he won't. You know what? He's probably going to start understanding because you play in Toronto now. Yeah. And you're going to see exactly what it's like to have passionate fans that are sometimes a little too passionate and critique on a game-to-game basis, which is amusing. You have a great player in John Tavares. You should probably ease off on the man because I remember how the beginning of the season went. People think, you forget things that were said. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They were ripping John
and it wouldn't
Tavares
stop. Yeah, it absolutely. What a waste of a contract. Amazing. And this is what you wanted, John. You were loved by the entire fan base out in New York. You went to Toronto. You played 2 weeks. And you were already getting bad mouth. I mean, absolutely. I hope you understood that this was happening for you. But again, it's not the right decision. I didn't think he made the right decision. I won't think he made the right decision until basically the cows come home. So, all the power to him. Again, I completely still respect John Tavares, his decision. I absolutely understand it's his decision. It's his life. Amen, brother. But, when push comes to shove, it's just, just an unfortunate situation for Islander fans, and obviously, I'm not taking back any of the boos I was able to voice out, and that's that.
Well, we're going to go to a break real quick. Again, go to SeatGiant.com, type in RUTS Sports to save on tickets. Check out Sportscaster live, online, or on the app. Check us out on that. There's a bunch of other places that check us out. GoFlavorGoTV.com. Check that out. And check us out on Twitter and Instagram at RUTS Sports. We'll get into some NFL talk. Johnny Manziel is back in headlines, by the way. We're going to talk about that.
Great.
Kyler Murray at the Combine. Everybody was waiting for the numbers. We got him. Nick Foles is officially a free agent. We'll get into all of that. Oh, and Bryce Harper's got $330 million. No big deal. But we'll be back. You're listening to Running Up the Score.
All Noise Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Hey, this is Jerry Napoleonello, host of Running Up the Score. We are live once every week at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we hit on all the top headlines in the world of sports. You can also find us on Stitcher, iTunes, and those of you that like the visual aspect, check us out on YouTube. Running Up the Score. We run up the score. on Sports Radio.
Cyberstation USA is the future of radio. Get your business into the online future at the world's largest internet radio station. From banner placement on our homepage to any of our broadcaster stages, commercials on our video player, audio spots on any of our shows, or at the beginning of any of our on-demand broadcasts. Cyberstation USA offers competitive rates with a worldwide reach. A fully integrated one-stop shop social media broadcast platform. For more information, please contact our sales department at cameo@cyberstationusa.com.
This is Running Up the Score, your one-stop spot for all things sports. Join in on the conversation by calling in at 605-562-7085. Now here's your hosts, Jerry Napolianello and Kevin Donlin.
All right, we're back. Running Up the Score. 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. We'll get back into it. Again, go to SeatGiant.com. Type in RUTS Sports to save on tickets. We'll start off this second segment with Bryce Harper. Okay, Bryce Harper signs a 13-year deal with the Philadelphia Phillies worth $330 million. The biggest portion of this contract right here, I'll tell you right now, is that there's no opt-out. Okay? So, right now, I'm telling you, he cannot be traded. He cannot be traded because there is absolutely no opt-out. Who is going to trade for this contract if there's no opt-out? I mean, I don't understand. He's going to be with the Philadelphia Phillies for 13 years. He's going to be there until he's 39. And I understand there was a good point that was made on the radio that they feel like maybe the DH will end up making its way into the National League so that he'll end up a DH. Now, my co-host is laughing.
Yeah, I'm laughing. It's funny, the kind of money that they make in baseball. It really is. It's amusing, to say the least. But hey, all the power to you. I mean, I read something in the other night, actually, that as soon as he was signed, the Philadelphia Phillies sold over 100,000 tickets.
Yeah, within a day.
Well, you better sell over 100,000 tickets because you're paying someone $330 million.
Yeah.
That is a lot of money. 100,000 tickets, pretty good. That's really good, but you need to sell 330 million tickets over the course of 13 years. No, I absolutely. I'm just kidding around. I don't see it as a bad signing. Anyone that got Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper's a great player. He's very, very talented. Aside from last year, but I blame myself. I'm pretty sure I'm the reason for that with fantasy baseball. So, but the issue here is, like I mentioned before, Philly's going to be in the playoffs. Right? They're gonna make the playoffs. They're going to have a 4-3 lead in the bottom of the ninth inning, and then they're going to have a closer out there with a name I can't even pronounce right now, because I guarantee you it won't be the closer they have right now on the roster. Yeah. And that person will be making, if anything, $2 million, $1 million, whatever it is. And you're going to have $330 million sitting out in left field on the basis of praying to God this guy doesn't make an error, because we're all human here, folks. And I know some of these baseball players make you start to think that they're not human, but they are, and they make mistakes. We've all made mistakes in our life, and including the Philadelphia Phillies. No,
well, they had a very, very impressive offseason. Very impressive. They traded for JT Realmuto.
Yep.
They traded for Gene Segura.
Mm-hmm.
They sign Bryce Harper.
Mm-hmm.
They re-sign their own guy, give him an extension.
That's going to be
Aaron
some
Nola.
lineup. That's going to be some lineup. I'm telling you, they really have a great lineup. On top of a pretty decent year and a surprising year from the Philadelphia Phillies last year. I still don't understand.
Nobody's going to beat them in that division, though. Atlanta will be there, but they're not going to beat Philly.
You know, baseball thinking is very widespread.
They're going to get Mike Trout, too.
Who, Philly?
Yeah.
I don't know how much they're going to be charging for hot dogs there, but I don't think I'll be going. What is it, PNC Park over there? Is that the name
No,
of it?
that's Pittsburgh.
Oh, no. What
It's,
is Philly? Where does Philly play? Not the biggest baseball fan, folks. And the big reason is why is because I don't like to go to a game and spend $15 on a beer watching Giancarlo Stanton strike out. Because I could strike out for whatever millions of dollars that he makes. I mean, it's...
He also hit, 40-something home runs.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. 40. He's the only one that can do that, right?
Listen.
For that money? Again... I'll never... But the problem is when you make money like this, folks, is that you got people like me. And I'm not alone. I'm not alone at all. I know I'm not alone.
Yeah, but we're
going to critique everything someone does when they make money like that. It started with Alex Rodriguez. It will not stop. There's no way to stop it.
Listen. We just have to accept that these players make this kind of money. That's it just comes down to that because it's just going to get more and more now. That's what happens.
You can't tell me it's not even about accepting it or not. I don't care if they made that kind of money. It's not my life. It's again, it doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah.
If they make this money or not. The point is that they're always going to get critiqued on their
absolutely.
play based on how much money they make.
That's
always going to be around.
Like that.
That's always going to be around.
It's always going to be like that.
I mean, even Kirk Cousins. You can go to any sport. Like if you're making a good amount of money.
Kirk Cousins is a perfect example. I mean,
I'm just saying I don't really want to go off the sport and what we're talking about right now. But the point is that when you make a lot of money, your play is going to get critiqued every single time.
Absolutely.
There's never going to be a time where your play doesn't get critiqued on the basis of how much money you make.
Absolutely.
It's always been like that. And again, I don't care if they make that money. Amen, bro. Yo, Scott Boras, you are a genius. This is why I laugh. I laugh because it's genius. It's amazing what he's able to pull off. Bryce Harper's probably sitting there with his feet up right now, and he just can't wait to show up. It's going to be hysterical to watch. And
just think of how much money Scott Boras is getting off of this contract. It's unreal. Unreal. You get 10% of this. I mean. You're good. You're good.
He's got people to pay too. I mean, he's not doing this by himself.
Listen. This is just one guy. This is just one of his guys. He's got a list of guys. Even the guys that don't make enough money.
I was going to say, he's got a list of guys working for him, too. I mean, this isn't a one-man job. But I absolutely understand what you're saying.
He's getting the majority of it.
When it comes to Bryce Harper, my best advice to you is to just go out there and continue to play your game. The problem is that at some point, you might be batting .230 in 1 month, and the fans are going to let you hear it. And you're going to, it's not going to be pleasant. I mean, I know how Philly fans are. I mean... We all know how Philly fans are. They're not pleasant if you're not performing.
Are bad.
What happened?
But Islander fans are bad.
I know. Again, fan bases are going to have ways for people to critique left and right. Like we're New York fans. Yeah. I mean, I don't even want to go back to this much, but I just briefly heard someone say, "Well, it's New York. What did you expect?" And it's understandable. What is
that supposed to mean?
Well, it's the same thing as saying it's Philly.
Yeah.
What did you expect?
Yeah.
It's Boston. What did you expect? People want to win. And people want to have, great seasons, and they want to.
But when you also see a team like when you're a fan of a team that's usually winning, and I'm not saying the Islanders are usually winning, but I'm just saying
Philly.
As
the Phillies.
Yeah, I mean the Phillies had their time of especially even when they lost to the Yankees. No big deal though. But I'm saying you're looking at like a team like the Eagles who just won the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
It wasn't a big deal, but it was a big difference in salary for that World Series with Philly and
but I mean look at the Phillies then though. The Phillies they had Roy Halladay, they had Cliff Lee, they had Ryan Howard. they didn't have a very, small.
You named 3 players.
Well, you have to give me time to, think of it. I'm
4.
just
I'll
trying.
give you Chase Utley too.
Yeah, but I'm just
Who do
saying.
the Yankees
overall,
have? You know what I mean? Like, this is the point I'm making.
That I understand.
This is why baseball
you're
is
looking at, that was.
I could debate this with you all day. I'll
was
never
just-
respect the game of baseball just on the basis of how widespread it is, man. And I'm a Yankee fan. Love the Yankees. Nobody loves them more than me. But it's so unfair. It is. It's unfair.
Listen,
it always will be.
It's just.
It is.
I don't know.
I'm not even hating. I'm a fan.
No,
I'm
I
not
know.
even hating on the
I know.
Yankees. I just
know.
think it's hysterical that, and I'll be the one to tell you, and this is something that you won't hear on people say on their shows, and people always badmouth the Yankees and they do this and nothing you can do about it. You can hate on it all you want. They still do it.
Yeah, of course.
It's unfair. I know it's unfair. I'm a fan. I'm going to tell you it's unfair. So when the New York Yankees don't win a World Series, it's embarrassing. Every year. They do it to themselves. That's the kind of basis that it's gotten to. But again, we've talked about this where, different sports and champions being predicted and stuff along the lines of that. When you're making salaries, and your salary is that far up, and Philly's now starting to head in that direction because, like you talked about, Gene Segura doesn't make chump change.
No.
Neither does Ray Almudo. I can't tell you anybody on their pitching staff, though. I'll be honest. I know that guy Velasquez was there, and then he fell off completely, and then he came back.
Nola, who they just, extended.
Yeah, Nola's very good.
But, overall, I think the Philadelphia Phillies had a very good offseason.
I agree.
And, it's going to be interesting in the NL this year.
Mm-hmm.
The NL East, it's going to be a 2-team fight between the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies.
You think the Mets have no shot, huh?
No, absolutely no shot. No shot. Not even close. But the one thing that I'm hoping has no shot of success is the Major League Baseball will be testing robot umps in the Atlantic League. They signed a 3-year deal to do it. I mean, if we end up with
robot ump?
Yes, if we end up with robot umps in Major League Baseball,
I'll be finding something else to do during the summer.
I mean, are you serious? Listen, don't get me wrong.
Get a robot ump for
when,
your local beer league softball league. Are you kidding me?
Like
it's just people are so sensitive. Again, it's people are so sensitive in the world now that they can't take getting a bad call. And
it's not even like bad calls now because we have video replays in baseball. But now it's because of a ball or a strike? Really? That's what come on. That's what makes baseball baseball. You have that human factor of an ump. We took half of that away by giving them replays, okay? So that's now we'll get all the wrong calls right now. But balls and strikes, come on. That's the main part of baseball. The human factor of the ump having a strike zone. Well, this ump has a smaller strike zone. This one has a bigger strike zone. That's what makes baseball baseball. I've played baseball my whole life. Okay? So is he. It's going to suck. Yeah, you get an outside call for a strike that you probably can't reach.
See, what makes great players in the game of baseball is this.
They don't let the ump.
I'll explain. I got a good thing for you right here. Here we go.
I'll let you
What
go.
makes a player a good player in baseball is on the basis of situations like what he just talked about. I just got an outside pitch called strike 3. I already struck out once. But baseball, as we all know, is a 30% game. You could be successful 30% of the time, and you're a good player in this
Hall
league.
of Famer.
So when you're first at bat, you got called out on strike 3 on a pitch that you felt was outside, you have to make an adjustment. And the great players do this. And that's what makes them great. And even the good players do it too, to make them good. and the bad players do it to make them not so bad. So,
I mean, we've dealt with it playing.
You adjust.
Baseball.
You know what to
have
expect. You
adjust.
know what the kind of umpire you're going to have is. The
You get
umpire.
that-
What's up?
Go.
The umpire that you have, has an outside strike zone. Now you know this.
Exactly.
Your
That's
next
exactly what I was
approach
gonna say.
on your next at bat, and even it goes way back to going back into the dugout and immediately putting your helmet down, putting your bat back away and everything, and going right up to your starting pitcher and going, abuse the outside because he loves it. But this is all part.
Exactly.
This is all part of the game that gets lost when you bring a robot into a balls and strikes thing. Part of the game is an umpire. Some umpires have an outside strike zone. Some of them have a high strike zone, a low strike zone, an inside strike zone. You just adjust. You got to hope they're consistent, and you adjust.
Exactly.
And you talk to your pitcher. You talk to other hitters coming up after you or hitters coming up before you, and what pitchers are trying to do. Baseball is a very diverse sport. Like, there's just so much that comes into play with it. There's so many different factors. So,
You know what else in baseball makes baseball that they want to change and punish, actually? Stealing signs. I mean, that's part of baseball. If you don't want your signs stolen, how about change it up?
I really don't know how they do it in the major leagues, but for us, we had games against every different team, back in high school.
Yeah.
I remember, I didn't play college baseball, but I played high school, and the way we approached it there was the signs were different every game.
Yeah.
We changed it up. This was something we talked about in a meeting before the game. Listen, we're going to go with this and this and this, and this is what it's going to be our indicator. This is going to be the sign, and, we'll go from there. And they would change every game. So I don't know if in the major leagues now they don't make these changes, but, I mean, that's just a laziness on someone that's making a lot of money as a coach or of any sort. Like, have some creativity. If you want to think teams are stealing signs, why don't you put a sign out there that you think the team's going to steal and it's nothing? Like, adjust. It's all part of the game, like you said.
I remember, I've stolen signs. I mean, it's easy. You're in the, you can even send signs to, the batter. What we've done before. We're sitting in the dugout. You could see the fingers of the catcher giving the sign for what pitch is coming. Then you kind of make up something. Whether if you want to do, like, for a fastball, you say the guy's last name, or
well, not
for a
even just
curveball, you say the guy's number. Whatever, however it is.
Switch up the numbers.
That's
again,
totally
laziness.
That's
man.
totally up to the pitcher and the catcher. You want to do that, do that. But to complain that this is not baseball and this is no, that is baseball. That's what's been done for years. So why are we so fixated on changing baseball that every year we have to change a rule? Now they're getting rid of the pitch clock.
I'm telling you, it's because of the excitement, man.
But that's if you're a baseball fan, you're a baseball fan. Okay? Baseball is a regional sport. That's what it is. That's all it is. It's a regional sport. It's not a national sport. Okay? I'm not going to sit here and watch. I'm not going to watch the Colorado Rockies. I'm going to debate with you right here.
I'm going to debate with you over here right now because it's not hard for someone like you who's a Yankee fan to say something like that.
No, listen,
when you're
a
fan of somebody that's in the Milwaukee Brewers who have had one good team in the last 15 years. Yeah, it's hard to sit there and say this game is exciting when the New York Yankees come into town. They tramp you the whole time. Do you know why they're tramping you? Because they literally have $200 million more in salary than you.
It's different
hard.
nowadays, though. It's different nowadays because now every single team has a chance to sign their top player, and it's been happening. Do you really think Mike Trout would still be on the Angels in the 90s or the early 2000s?
Well, you think they were creating super teams? Because there wasn't super teams in the 90s.
What I'm saying is,
this isn't basketball either.
It came down to top players automatically leaving their team if it wasn't a top team. Nowadays, you're seeing these top players signing with the team that drafted them. Mike Trout signing with the Angels. Bryce Harper signing with the Nationals at first. Then he moved on. But the Nationals had plenty of time.
I see no, because you know what? It's just like in hockey with John Tavares, the same thing as it is with baseball. These players don't owe anything to an organization, but you owe it to the fans of your organization.
Yeah.
The point is that Bryce Harper didn't have to stay with the Nationals. You don't care. I don't care about the organization. The organization loved me so much they would take more care of me and pay me that insane amount of money years ago.
Not even that. They offered him that money. They offered him that. He turned it down. But what I'm saying is they had plenty of time to put a team around him. And they had a few teams that were decent. I still think they had their best shot was when Strasburg got hurt and they put him on a pitch on an innings count and they said that he's not going to pitch in the playoffs. That was the year, and I mean you can go back to the shows, go on YouTube and go back to the shows when that happened. And I said the same thing. This will hurt the Nationals. This was the year that they had a chance. You can't take these kind of years for granted. If your team, and this is why I was upset with the Islanders not making a deal at the trade deadline, was because you can't say, oh, you know what, we'll be all right next year. We'll be all right next year. We'll make a move next year. Or, this. No, your team is in first place now. Your team has a chance now. That doesn't mean that they're going to have the same chance next year. So, when it comes down to the Nationals, they just didn't do it around Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper moved on finally, and he signs a huge deal with the Philadelphia Phillies. MLB testing, umps, robot umps is just out of this mind. But I felt like
it's just hard. They're trying to make the game more consistent, and they're trying to make any way possible to make the game more exciting. But again, like I said, it's not hard for people like you and me to find the game exciting when we have a team that wins all the time.
I understand.
When you got a low salary team that just every year. I mean, you got to look it through the eyes of a Met fan, and you can understand where's the excitement there.
But you know what?
Explain to me if you were a Met fan, real quick. I need you to answer this real quick. If you're a Met fan, why is the game exciting? Why is the game of baseball an exciting sport for a New York Met fan?
Well, first off, they went to the World Series in the last, 6 years. They went to one World Series. It didn't happen for them.
When was the last time they went to one before that? We're talking, you're 28 years old, bro.
Yeah, I know. 2000 was the last time that they went to the World Series, and then before that was, 86?
It's a long time.
That I understand. I mean, we're Islander fans.
So you understand?
We haven't dealt with that.
Well, hockey's just an exciting sport.
That is,
it's
yes.
like a different. That's what I mean. It's a different aspect.
When it comes down to Met fans, that's just your organization. That's your organization, because they have the money. They have it. They just use an excuse not to spend that money. Okay? The Yankees will spend that money. They care about their fans.
No, they don't, because my $15 beer isn't the reason why they care about me.
But that's, in turn, caring for your fans, because you got to put a product on the field that brings you to the field. But before we get out of here, this is what I wanted to talk about. We were talking about, John Tavares getting the snakes thrown at him. Everybody was saying that, the jersey thrown at him, this and that. It kind of tunes into what happened in the Thunder Nuggets game a couple of days ago. Russell Westbrook was fouled. He was kind of standing in the out of bounds line, whatever, and a kid on the side that was first row seat got up and just kind of tapped him on the arm. Russell Westbrook, if it was an adult, probably would have knocked him out, just the way that he turned around. But after the game, they asked him about it. He, I have the clip. I'll play the clip.
I guess they must have won by 30 or something. Why else would you ask about that?
Well, but but it was big. So this is what Russell Westbrook said about this incident.
He hit me, so I told his dad, just be careful, man. You can't have your son just hitting random people. I don't know him, he don't know me, so just let him know, you know what I'm saying, just got to control your kids. It's that simple. You're responsible for his kid. Watch the game, sit there, have fun, enjoy it. For all the fans, though, it's too much leeway, man, for the fans to be able to touch the players and get away with it, and then we can't react and do the things that we need to do to protect ourselves. So it's important, man, that they understand, kids, whoever it is, dads, moms, that they can say what they want as long as it's respectful. But the touching to me is off limits.
You don't know it's a kid, right, when it first happens?
Nah. Then I turn around and I say it's a kid, but initially you don't know that, but you can't do that. I can't, what I'm gonna do, hop in the stands. So, but it's got to be some type of rule or some type of boundary set that you can't allow that.
I think Russell Westbrook right here with this actually teaches like a lesson to people.
No,
and it's not even just that. It was just about the whole idea that you have no business touching another human being. Like, just like I'm being an actual human being in this world. You know what I mean? Like, we're all, some are very talented, folks. Some aren't. Russell Westbrook could play really, really good basketball. And I know how to boo really well. Everyone's got talents out there, but we're all human.
That's
for
the
you
thing.
to put your hands on for you to put your hands on someone else. I know the kid was a child, very young, doesn't know any better, but that's why he went up to his father and said something to him, like, "Hey, he's hitting me."
Yeah.
What happens when a kid to his school wears my jersey? You gonna push him too? Yeah. So you can't. And again, it goes back to the whole bullying thing. So I think this was really good and I think it was nice of Russell Westbrook to do something like that and actually mention this in the media. Why the media asked him about it to begin with is beyond belief. And honestly, Russell Westbrook probably said something to this man. The whole world didn't need to hear what he said to him, but obviously,
that's the thing. Like, I felt
it's good that Westbrook said that because honestly, this kid hits Russell Westbrook. He's going to hit other kids as he gets older because that's just naturally a kid thinks that it's okay to do something like that and nothing happens to him because of it, they continue to do it. It's just the child way. It's always been like that.
My thing is, I don't care how much money these people make. I don't care. Like, if you look at every other sport, there's a boundary. There is. Because, in hockey, you have you have the glass. You have the boards and the glass. Football, you basically have like 10 yards. Before
and
you
a bunch of guys at 300 pounds that can stop you before you get
not even that. Like, you have a lot of space. Like, you can't reach your hand out and touch a player. Like, it's not going to happen. Baseball, very rarely are you even that close to the game to like touch a player unless there's a foul ball coming close. So it comes down to like, basketball is literally, and I was watching basically reactions to this on all the sports radio and sports TV type hosts talking about it, and they were just saying like it feels like the basketball fans are getting closer and closer and closer to the players, and there's nothing blocking them. There's no blocking. And I don't care how much you spend on a ticket. That does not give you the right to touch somebody. It doesn't. That's not how it works. Okay? I'm not going to a game because I want to, hit somebody. I don't want to hit a player. If he comes up to me and puts his hand out to like give me a high five, I'll give that, but you can't just automatically just touch a guy like Russell Westbrook. It doesn't give you the right. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how famous you are. Just because, they're walking down the street doesn't mean you could just, knock them out. Like, that's not how it works. Because you wouldn't do that for anybody else. You wouldn't do it on a regular person. Like Shannon Sharp said, he's like, you're walking down the block with your baby. Someone touches your baby. What's your reaction gonna be? That's just how it works. And I agree with Russ saying that there should be a boundary. If you want to put a wall or something like that, most of these basketball arenas are in hockey arenas. So you have the structure already to have a wall. They just want to add more seats closer to the court, on the court, and for these fans to spend more money on tickets. That's what it comes down to. So as the NBA is trying to do that, and all these teams are trying to do that, you're kind of putting your players at risk for something happening. And, the same thing goes for DeMarcus Cousins getting a technical the other day. He got a technical for one of the players on the other team. His shoe fell off. And instead, he kind of took the shoe and threw it to the side, kind of went into the stands. And he got a technical for it, which is ridiculous. It got rescinded. But it's ridiculous. That whole thing
rescinded.
Was... Yeah.
Why? Yeah, again.
The main reason
don't
why...
ask me my opinion on this. I don't even want to follow.
The main reason why he got a technical on this is because of his prior... just his persona in the NBA. That's exactly what it is. It's like Draymond Green, getting a foul, and then all of a sudden they give him a flagrant foul just because,
they're gonna wait till the game's over.
We've seen
they're gonna wait till the game's over.
Exactly to rescind it. So I just these kind of things when it comes to athletes and fans. You go to watch the game. You don't go to be a part of the game, basically. So I'm 110% with Russell Westbrook, and I'm a fan. I would love for a player to come up to me, give me a high five and everything like that. Like that's cool. But I'm not gonna go, and cock back and hit hit an athlete just because he's on the other team. That's not.
Like I said, if he hits Russell Westbrook, the real Russell Westbrook, he's gonna hit other kids in his school. Again, it's just Russell Westbrook teaching a lesson.
Not to mention,
he's a father. He's a father himself.
Yeah.
So it actually just shows the kind of character. It just shows that these players. We talk about how they're basically these great players and role models, but at the same time, they're human beings, and they're fathers, they're husbands, they're living the American dream. So, if he had no choice but to teach this guy a lesson on how to be a parent, because you can't even keep control of your children on the first row of a basketball event, professional basketball event, to say the least.
Well, we got to get out of here. Before we go, Johnny Manziel banned from the CFL for violating the contract that they signed. Cannot sign with any teams in the CFL. He will be able to sign with the teams in the AAF. That will be interesting to see.
It took me forever to get this mic fixed.
Yeah, I know. Kyler Murray, 5'10", 207. Nick Foles is officially a free agent. Jason Witten comes out of retirement. What a joke that is. I'm a Cowboys fan, and I just think it's the biggest joke.
Whatever. They were paying me $3 million. I come out of retirement.
That guy's been done for the last 3 years. Like that, he is a no yards after catch type of player.
So the worst thing that happens, he gets cut. There's nothing you can do.
And the NFL salary cap raises to $188.2 million. So that's big for teams that may need some higher salary cap. But that will do it. Check us out on Sportscaster Live, the app, or the website. We'll be putting up some more, content during the week. Instead of just doing one long show, we'll do one long show and then a few other videos as well.
With it.
I don't know if it'll happen this week, though.
I'll figure it out.
Obviously.
In time.
Today or tomorrow or the next days of this week. But, definitely for weeks to come, you will see more videos of, usually it's going to be solos, solo of Kevin, solo of me. We'll just discuss whatever's going on at that day or on that, at that time or whatever. But SeatGiant.com, type in RUTS Sports to save on tickets. Check us out on everything. Twitter, RUTS Sports, Instagram.
Just check everything, folks. Whatever you got, we'll have something
if you want. If you want, just Google RUTS Sports or Running Up the Score, and we'll come up. There's so many websites. I mean, I'll tell you right now, like real quick before we get out of here, XenoLive.com. You can check us out on that. That's where our phone and phone number comes from and all that stuff. Periscope, Twitch, YouTube Live, Smashcast, Mixer, Sportscaster. I mean, just everything. I mean, you
goes on and on.
And the best thing that you can do is just go to rutsports.weebly.com and we'll have all of it listed there with links you could click on. But let's go Islanders. And spring training's going on right now, so it's an exciting time to be a baseball fan. Except for my co-host.
I'll find something else to do this summer.
Yeah. But that will do it. The NFL Combine is going on as we speak. So check that out. The draft will be coming up soon. And we'll talk about the draft next week.
With that should be a good time.
You were listening to Running Up the Score. I am Jerry.
I'm Kevin.
Beat Breezy.
Beat Breezy.
And it is all over! You've been listening to Running Up the Score. We run up the score on Sports Radio.